I saw this demonstrated, so I can't take credit for the idea, but I'm going to demonstrate how to use some vectors and create 3D objects using Aspire. I just traced important parts of these Canon. It's a bitmap I found on Google. You can still see the image marks. And I'm going to turn off the bitmap because it just kind of gets in the way. And you can kind of see the vectors that I traced. I traced the barrel, I traced the rim, the hub, axle, the carriage, and one spoke. So let's get started. Let's go over to the modeling tab. I'm going to go inside the wheel. First thing I'm going to do is spin an axle. If you look at this, imagine this rectangle being a spoke. And if I drew a line from half of it here to half of it here, that will give me a top half and a bottom half. So I'm going to take that top half and I'm going to rotate it, and it's going to rotate around the center of whatever that was. I'm going to make it a merge. I'm going to call it a spoke. I'm going to apply that, and that'll give me my first 3D object. So there's my object, and you can see the spoke. Well, I need to create more to this wheel. I need to create a rim. So I'm going to go to the Create Shape. I've got the outside vectors highlighted, so whatever I do between them, and I'm going to call it flat. I'm going to call this the rim, and apply that. It needs to be merged. Apply that. Okay, now I have an axle and a rim. I'm going to start a new component. I'm going to call this the hub, and I highlight this vector. It's going to create a hub inside here, and it's flat, and apply that. I need to create a new component. It's going to be the axle. And I need to highlight the vector that is the axle. And it needs to be flat, base height, and merge as well. And apply that. And you can see the beginnings of a wheel. It's pretty good, except we need to rotate this spoke around. We need to rotate the spoke around the center of the wheel and make a bunch of spokes. So I go to the circular copy of that spoke, and when I double click on the rotation center, it puts it at the center of the object. It actually puts it at the XY datum, and when I set up my workpiece, I set my center of workpiece to be the center. You can do lower left, upper right, whatever. I chose center, and that's where it's centered. But I moved it to the center of the wheel. I'm going to copy this, make them a group of themselves. Let's make 8 axles. And I'm going to copy it on 360 degrees. And now I have a wheel with all the axles. Let's look at that in XY. There we go, straight on. Pretty good wheel. Let's go continue and build more to this cannon. Let's go up to the carriage level. I highlight the carriage vector, and I'm going to create a shape. It's going to be flat as well. That's flat right there. And I'm going to apply this. I'm going to call it the carriage. It needs to be merged, and there's my carriage. I'm going to reset that size a little bit, and then the only thing left to do really is to create the barrel itself, and that's going to be another rotate. So I go back to the modeling tab, click on the turn and spin and rotate. I'm going to turn this around the center. This is the top half of the barrel. It needs to be merged. It's going to be barrel. And I'm going to apply that. There's my cannon. I'm going to close this. My barrel needs to be up in the barrel level. I'm going to rename this to the barrel. I want to create one more level. Insert a new level, and I'm going to call this the model level. Now I've got all my levels and everything is appropriate. I need to finish out the design of the cannon. What is too high is the barrel. The barrel is just too high. So if we double click on the barrel, we can see that the height is 0.5. I want to change that in half. I'm going to 0.25. Now when it applies, it kind of flattens it, but when you're looking at it from the side, it looks okay. It looks okay. I need to raise the spokes, so I'm going to put a base on the spokes, and let's see how that looks. That's a pretty good wheel. They're too high for the hub, so I need to raise the hub just a tad. And let's make it 0.065. and that's enough. And then I still have my hub, my axle, my rim, and my spokes, and the cannon.